the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Ready.
AVWeek.
Performing scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AVWeek. AVWeek. This is AVWeek, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. It's a Saturday. How are you? Usually we record AV Week on a Friday, but due to some circumstances that I'll announce at the end of this show, that's called a teaser, folks. We'll talk about why we are recording on Saturday, and probably will be for a while now. With us this week is George Tucker. George is the engineering coordinator for World Stage, and at this point, the entirety of my brain. How are you, sir?
All right. Happy weekend, everybody.
Happy weekend. And with us for the first time, first of all, the lovely and talented Miss AVDawn, Dawn Meade from NetAV. How are you, ma'am?
Very good, thanks. Hi, everybody.
Hello. And to her left, my brother. How are you, sir? His name is Harry Meade, the fabulous CTSD... DMCE now, along with me.
Yes, DMCE
and all
lots
kinds
of other
lots of other others. But Harry is Mr. AVDawn, i.e. Dawn's lovely husband, and he also is in the AV industry from CCS Presentation. Neither of these people are newbies to this, but we've never had them on together, and there's a reason for that. We're also going to get to the end of the show. But how are you, sir?
I am doing great today.
Real quickly before, and this is not a commercial, we just like the folks at Vadio. Dawn got to win a fabulous group station, and so that's what they're doing. They are presenting, being on this very show, the video portion at least, with the Vadio group station that Dawn won. So yay!
Yes, thank you, Vadio. We love it very much.
Yes.
And this is its debut broadcast.
Sorry,
and the audio portion is recorded through the Vadio group station, too.
Good.
You just don't get to see it.
You don't see it. Yeah, there is that. Actually, there it is. That sounded lovely, Harry. Thank you.
That was just beautiful.
Jeez.
Now we need a team station.
Now we need something. Kelly, get on that one, don't you? We're going to talk about a couple things this week. First of all, George Tucker wrote a fabulous piece, which pretty much blasted my blog post out of the water, about Google and Microsoft.
And that was the point. That was the
I know it was the
entire
point. And
motivation
that's you successfully did just that. It's called Our Barbarians at the Gate, and whoever came up with your fabulous image deserves an award, because that was a very nice barbarian.
That was the fine web editor at Commercial Integrator.
All right, it was very good. Also, Sony's number one in something, and we're going to talk about what for the first time in whoever. Salvaging and kind of refreshing projectors and talking about updating things and why projection screens matter. I know that sounds really, really fun and lovely, but they actually do. It really is, talking about, at least talking to whether it's your professors or it is your client as to why you need a projection screen and why a white drywall just simply won't do. But first, we're going to talk about hardware and software, which actually is one of the things that George was talking about in his post. Tivo is laying off a boatload of engineers, so if you are in the market for an engineer, you might want to post something. Hey, ex-Tivo guys, they're getting out of the hardware business, which came as kind of a shock for those people who are casually familiar with what Tivo is or who Tivo is. First of all, they were the very first successful, I will say, commercially successful DVR. These are the guys that created the mass market for DVRs. The interface has been widely regarded as one of the best interfaces in the world. However, here's the thing with Tivo. Tivo Kleenex themselves. And when I say they Kleenex themselves, that means that they became synonymous with the actual product. Nobody really cared about the fact that it was a Tivo or a Cox Comcast or a Charter Communications DVR. They referred to it as a Tivo. And that they quickly started losing market share, and suddenly, now all of a sudden, they're going bye-bye, at least for the hardware. They're making actually a somewhat smart decision by going the software route. So, George, real quickly here, before we get started, as we're getting started, how big of a deal is this? The fact that Tivo's getting out of hardware, or are they just kind of doing what they need to do and going the software route?
Well, no, Wash, that's sort of both questions are, well, yes. What I mean by that is, to the people who are in the industry and who say that services over and content over hardware are the thing, this is not new, this is not shocking, this is inevitable evolution. There's a apocryphal story about Fred Wilson from the Union Square Capital. These are guys who invested in Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter early on, with Roku saying, why are you bringing me hardware? Don't bring me hardware. And the guy came back to him like 4 times and finally said, look, I've got a deal to stream it, and I've got a deal for someone else to make the hardware. And he goes, okay, now I'll invest. And he invested a lot of money. If everything stands as is and we don't lose net neutrality in some form, this is the smart decision to go to, because, as we say, making hardware is hard, and making a profit off of hardware is even harder. So to someone like me who owns several TiVos, I'm sorry to see them go, but the inevitability of putting some little micro computer box in my AV cabinet is probably the way I'll go in the next 6 months anyway.
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah.
Don, when it comes to, either it's getting the name out there or replacing everything, all the hardware with software, and getting it out there, like George said, into some sort of little computer box, or maybe making a deal with, I don't know, let's be crazy here. Let's say that they make a deal with Samsung and they integrate Tivo into Samsung, the next Samsung TV. You think this is the route that they need to go to stay viable? And if it is, will it work?
That's a really difficult question, because it's a product that, people, like you said, it's Kleenex. It's something that people just don't think of. It's a Band-Aid. It's not, Band-Aid brand necessarily, but, we've never in our lives owned a Tivo box here at Casa de Meade, but we always say we're Tivoing things with our DVR that came with whoever. I think at the end of the day, it's something that's just similar to how we have our DVR. It's something that's going to come with your programming. So, Netflix would have their DVR, DirecTV and Dish Network, they already have their DVRs. It's something that wherever you get your content from, that's, I think, where the actual DVR part of it, the recording part of it's going to be. It's going to be just an add-on service from wherever you get your content. And if you're a DIY kind of guy or a geek like us in the industry and you want to cobble together your own little bit of this content, a little bit of that, yeah, there'll be some third-party add-on computer boxes or program services that you can add. But I don't see it as a model where you're going to have just like one big company or one big product that's used. It's just another service that we all have. And I'm sure Harry will disagree with me. Because
Well, no, and Harry, first of all, you can either choose to disagree or agree with your wife. How about that?
Wrong! The answer is 42, Jack Tremont.
Very nice.
Wrong! This is what's going to happen. I think, as much as I believe it's a mistake, I think it's going to go cloud-based. I think you're going to pay for a space to store your program, a la the ultraviolet movies. You don't really own your movies. They're on the cloud somewhere. Okay, so now you'll have a single place where you can keep all of your movies that you've supposedly bought, as well as all of the TV programs that you've supposedly recorded, until the cloud goes away, and it's the Planet of the Apes, and we have to kill everyone.
Oh, jeez. Okay, well, no, here's a question. You took that a bit, just a step too far. Maybe not, just tiny. The apes was a bit much. Not much, but a bit much. Here's a question for you.
Missed it by that much.
So do they
Get your
maybe?
paws off my HBO, you damn dirty ape.
We'll get to that. We'll get to HBO. So let's take this. Let's take Harry's apocalyptic view of that a little step further. Do they maybe team up with a company like Arrow? Which, if you're not familiar with Arrow is an IP based company that will allow you to stream over the air HD signals to your tablet or your computer or other devices. Right now, they're only in select markets, so don't get too crazy, especially you folks in St. Louis. And the only reason I know that is because I constantly check the site. But New York has got them, L.A., Houston. Oddly enough, the state of Utah has it. I think the reasoning behind Utah was because of the mountain ranges, and there are legitimate reasons for that. But do they maybe team up with somebody like Arrow, Harry, and say, you know what, folks, let's cloud base the entire sucker, right? The cloud base your antenna to get over the air, and let's cloud base your TiVo.
Yeah, because there's no reason to once you go cloud-based for the I heard that thought. Once you go cloud-based for the
this is going to be fun.
Oh boy.
Once you go cloud-based for the storage, then all you need is somebody to digitize it and put it into the cloud.
Yeah. And
then it doesn't matter what you do with it or anything else. So if you've got Arrow on the front end delivering content, Arrow will then integrate with I don't know, I skipped ahead, with TiVo, who will provide the storage facilities in the recently abandoned NSA buildings, and then
they're not really abandoned, by the way.
Yeah, there's a phone booth in the corner that you just have to pick up the phone and go down.
and then that's where the data storage is going to be, and then you'll be able to access it from anywhere.
Okay, so here's what I'm hearing from you and everybody here. We should all invest in companies like Rackspace and Amazon and everybody that has. We love Amazon, by the way. That's where our servers are. But that's what I'm hearing is the fact that that all these cloud-based storage companies are really where the money's going to be at, not necessarily in the hardware or even the software. We just got to buy a bunch of hard drives, I guess.
Once you go cloud, all things are allowed.
Very nice. Very well done. All right, so let's keep on cooking with some hardware stuff, sort of. Okay, so this is my personal opinion. I'm not a big fan of wireless video right now, currently. I think wireless audio, they've been doing it for roughly 30 years, and they've got it mostly right. I heard some interesting things coming out of a certain German manufacturer the last couple of weeks that will be very interesting if they pull it off. Let's just say that way. But video, not so much. They're still not quite there yet, right? So even with some traditional, let's call it, say, XGA or higher resolution computer images, even 1080p, 720p, they're still not quite there yet. Enter wireless UHD 4K, because that makes sense. Okay.
Is it so thick you can see the radio waves at this point?
And you can get gross on your head from passing through the stream.
George?
Yeah, George has one. Silicon images.
I'm radiating it now.
60 gigahertz wireless HD tech. I'm just laughing reading this. I'm sorry. 60 gigahertz wireless HD technology and includes a transmitter receiver that can send full bit accurate video at data rates up to 8 gigabits per second. Trust us. We're going to be showing next to Extron at ISE next week. All right. We'll start with the Meades on this.
Shenanigans. Next.
Yeah. We'll start with the Meades on this one. And Harry, I'll let you be wrong first. First of all, okay. Why are they working on wireless 4K? Let's start with that.
That's a good question. Can we get one to work first?
Can we get a 720 to work first?
Can we get something? Can we get some?
SD.
Yeah. Can we get HD? Hell, SD without looking like crap.
Yeah.
Can we get can we get HD something to actually work before we do this magical 4K over the air for approximately 4 feet, and then
is that what it is? It's just to replace a 4-foot HDMI cable.
I don't know, but it's like, give me something that works first before you start improving it.
Yeah, okay, that's valid.
It'd be like, we can now do 4K over AVB.
Yeah.
Because we can't do V.
Give me the V part first before you do that. Yeah. Dawn, why? First of all, why are they doing this, or is there something that they can? Maybe they have something to pull a rabbit out of their hat to make it better. No.
Why are they doing it? Because it sounds sexy and they can sell crap this way.
Yeah.
It's something people want. They don't want wires. They just want it to magically go. But Harry's right. I mean, realistically speaking, we don't have. There are things that can show wirelessly, and some of them do it okay, and some of it do it okay for certain distances. But between being lucky and just getting demo gear between our two companies, Harry and I have had a chance to try a few things here at the house that were wireless, not even 4K, just regular SD, and I don't even know, was it HD?
It was HD
as well.
It was wireless HDMI.
And it couldn't go from our living room to our bedroom. Granted, we have a kind of long house, but it would just constantly lose signal, or it would just look like crap. And, we're not that high demand of a user. At least we weren't at the time. We were just testing it. Yeah. If you're going into any kind of mission critical situation for clients, you don't want to mess around with something that might work maybe kinda. And I know everyone wants wireless because the cost of cable and the hassle of pulling it and everything. We've had a solution for a while. Nobody but the federal government's using it. Run some fiber.
Well, I was going to mention that. Yeah, both of you.
It handles the bandwidth, the signal, and it's easier to run. It might not be easier to terminate or whatever, but it works. And it'll work in a mission critical situation.
Means I have to redo the house again.
Okay, you know what? That's your problem. That's not my problem.
Well, I was going to mention, both you guys live in the Maryland, D.C. area. You both work for companies who have a lot of government clients. Is that something where if it eventually does come to pass, first of all, will it be the government, and will the government trust it?
No.
Because it's wireless and you can tap into it.
Because it's wireless.
Yeah, the government would never go wireless entirely.
Yeah.
And if they did, it would be on an algorithm and encryption that nobody else in the world would be able to use anyway. So, but they still wouldn't trust it. I mean, they're that paranoid that's one of the reasons they became the biggest proponent of fiber, is because you can't really tap into fiber the way you could, copper cable, and you can't intercept it the way you can wireless.
You can't backfeed fiber.
Yeah, and so that's why fiber went big with them. But at the end of the day, everyone wants fast, giant bandwidth, and reliable. And wireless can do two of those things. But, it's
you
the
can't
third
do
one
three.
That we can't always count on.
It's like those memes that have the. It's like those memes.
How much radio waves do we really need in a house?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually where I'm going to go with the question to George on this. We're going to talk about the government. We're going to talk about wireless. We're going to talk about bandwidth and waves. The FCC is getting ready to sell off the 600 megahertz spectrum. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. But, that coupled with all of the wireless devices you have in a house, coupled with, digital TV, everything we have going on in a home, is there a reason that these folks are doing this? That they're pushing one more thing? I mean, not even talking about 720 or 1080p. They're talking like UHD 4K, pushing that amount of information over some sort of bandwidth. Does that even make sense?
It does make sense in the sense that when you talk about wireless like 60 gigahertz or other video transmissions, the idea is, just like politics, it's all local. And that's what they're really looking for. And I agree with the Meades that, let's just put that we out there, like the royal we, the Meades, that it doesn't really work. I mean, look, I've long said, Brundlefly, I've long said that it doesn't work that well, and that you really don't want to transmit to it or use it in really critical situations. But this is an option. And this is something that might work because 60 gigahertz will be dedicated to that. It's not 802.11n. It's not on the 2.4 or the 5 gigahertz. It very well may work in some instances for this kind of transmission. I have hopes for it, but there is something to be said for selling off those lower frequencies or even the uber high ones and making them very niche specific. This is sort of what they were trying to do with wideband and with I can't think of what it was called, but the sort of Muni-Fi that they were trying to do.
WiMAX?
WiMAX, thank you.
Yeah.
I completely just lost that name.
I'm not surprised. It didn't go very far.
Yeah, it didn't go very far. I think it was in Philadelphia, and it stayed.
Yeah, it was. It was in Philly. That was pretty much it.
But no, so there's something to it. And for me, saying that, from what I've seen of the demonstrations of it, and we've used it in the live environment once or twice, it was really more of a gimmick. So it wasn't we were relying on it. And if it died, we just went to hardwire.
Yeah.
But it has potential over the long run, over anything else we've seen so far.
But George, if you're saying it's best for like a niche, little tiny, certain situations, do you really think it's going to be something that's economically feasible for a company to stake their business on? I mean, here's hoping this Silicon Image Wireless has other products that they can rely on when the 12 of these that get sold.
Yeah, they have a DVR business.
Never underestimate the power of convenience or death. Because if I don't have to wire my house, or if I don't have to run new wires, and it will go far enough that it says, I don't need to put wires in the walls and this will solve it, I will use it.
Or at least try it before it,
yes.
Don and Harry said, starts having dropouts.
I mean, again, it's not the be-all and end-all, as you said, and we all know. Hardwire, whether it's fiber, copper, whatever, is better than anything. It's the most reliable, and that's why the live industry almost never uses any kind of off-air transmission scheme, because we want it to be dead solid, and we know wire will do it. We've just gotten away from copper and gone to fiber, maybe barely, in the live events world. So, again, I do think it has really good potential. It has to come down just like 4K. You have to bring the price down to a usable rate, but I'm willing to try it.
Well, and that's the other thing is fiber is, as much as the government uses it, the fiber has still not reached a point where it makes sense in some jobs. There are some jobs where your distance is going to reach a X amount of point where after so many repeaters or the distance limitation is such that fiber begins to make economic sense. Government aside, because I get the security thing. But government aside, you're talking about education, you're talking about a Fortune 500 company, unless they are as paranoid, and there are some that are, Apple or a law firm or something like that, where, fiber simply doesn't make economic sense yet. There will come a time, though, when it does, At least I hope there will, because I like fiber.
Well, look at also the whole wanting to transmit video and presentations wirelessly to a projector. Mm-hmm. A lot of that stuff isn't really great, and it relies on the 802 dot something spectrum and standard. This is a new standard that could also not just be in the home, but could then sort of merge into the commercial world with that kind of thing.
Well, and some of that stuff is smoke and mirrors, right? Some of that stuff is not true wireless. It's
true.
Well, it's over the network, right? And so you're talking to the projector through a piece of proprietary software that's in the computer, and it's so it's kind of sort of wireless, but not really. So. All right, let's move on and talk about screens. One of the things that, in dealing with education and working for a college, you deal on a yearly basis at least, is you take old projectors out, you put new projectors in, and so this piece by
all about,
and
you shake them all about.
Yeah, very nice. So this piece by Commercial Integrator kind of grabbed me, and I was like, that's interesting. So I'm going to ask people smarter than me, which is you three, by the way. There are more people than that smarter than me, but you three happen to be the one that said yes. So here's the premise. When you refresh or when you take out your projectors and you put in new ones, you should also at least consider, if not do, switch out your screens. Depending on your refresh cycle, and every company is different, and every college is different. Lewis and Clark, the college I work for, we have an 8-year refresh cycle. I know my buddy Matt Silverman, who used to work for George Mason, they had a 5-year refresh cycle. Regardless of how long your cycle is, looking at your screen kind of makes sense in some way, shape, or form, because there can be tears and there can be, this, that, and the other. I know I've talked with Draper before about, the electric screens and how the materials, after, 10 or 15 years, they start exuding some sort of material, and you have to clean that off and such. So, Harry, we'll start with you on this one. Should you consider, and if so, what's the criteria of considering refreshing your screens as well as refreshing your projectors?
Well, one of the biggest things we run into is aspect ratio wrongness.
Yeah.
Okay. You colleges love square screens for some reason, and we've had to replace a ton of square screens.
They're not square, they're 4x3.
No.
No, square?
No, 10 foot by 10 foot, ready for the overhead.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes.
So we do a ton of that. We take a lot of 4x3 screens and make them 16 by 9. And a lot of times we will just do the roller in fabric. And it depends on the type of screen. If it's one that's going to be relatively easy, or it's going to be a much bigger pain in the butt to fix the case than it is to just pull the roller out and put a new roller in, then we'll go with a new roller and material, and update the screen that way, and keep the box in the ceiling, especially if it's a plastered in screen.
Is that more? This might be a silly question, but that's more economically advantageous just to take out the roller than it is to replace the whole thing?
Yes, because in general, with a normal box screen, you can do a roller pretty quick, a couple hours. Whereas if you've got one that's cut into the drywall, and now you've got to get an electrician involved, or you've got to have an electrical license, which I do, or you've got to top that, Mister. I'm going to get my CTSD.
You're never.
Or
That's pretty. Keep going.
Or you need to get. You need to cut into the drywall. The box is inevitably going to be different shape and size. So you're going to have somebody who can finish drywall. Now you've got to finish drywall. Now you've got to paint. And you can't just paint the little area that's right there. You got to paint the whole ceiling or the whole section. And you can add days to a job having to redo a screen if you can't just redo the roller and fabric.
Let me ask this real quick. Can you redo the roller, fabric, and the motor? Because sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes the motor is also the first thing that goes.
Yes. The way the construction of the screens goes, sometimes the motor is hanging out on the left side, outside the roller. A lot of times it's actually inside the roller. So when you take it off, there's this rubber stopper thingy inside it that is what grabs the roller and actually turns it. And the motor itself is 1.5 feet long and cylindrical, about 1.5 inches around, and that's what actually turns the roller. So once you've got the roller off, it's easy to replace the motor.
Okay. Dawn, how do you convince clients that, the screen's old, so just take it down. I've got a whiteboard up here. That's fine. How do you convince them that a whiteboard or the drywall is not fine?
I haven't had to convince a ton of them. I mean, granted, unlike CCS and unlike your situation with college there, NetAV hasn't done a ton of schools. We mainly work in corporate and government. Most of them realize that unless it's a whiteboard designed to also be a screen, and those are only good in some situations, that they understand they need a screen. And 9 times out of 10, most of our customers, we replace a lot of fabric and roller or fabric roller engine, so to speak.
Yeah.
We do a lot of those in refurbs and like you're saying, with the life cycle, we refresh the screens. And it's not always just aspect ratio either. It's screen fabric. There are still consultants out there speccing glass beaded screen. We quit selling glass beaded screens when I started in the industry back when, and now matte white is even kind of passé. There are so many better screens, better technologies. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of technology that's involved in a piece of white fabric hanging in the front of the room. But there are so many for different types of projectors, for different types of environments, video conferencing versus data versus whatever. The gain that they can get off of these screens by going gray or black or what have you. I mean, we actually had someone from Draper Daylight, one of the Ds, into our company not too long ago. And we were getting so detailed in so much of the technology of the screen fabrics available that the one guy in the room that came into our industry from a different industry was like, wow, you all are just complete geeks. Like, there's way too much math and thought involved in just hang a thing up there and shine on it. But by having all that information, we can then go to our customer and say, look, you've got this big window right here on the side, and you've got this kind of light that your architect insists you have to have, so you're going to need an ambient light rejecting screen. We can't put in a glass beaded or a matte white. Yeah. We want to go with one of the gray or one of the black, the Spectre screens that reject the ambient light and give you a better image with lower,
We can't put in a glass beaded screen because the blood stains from our slit wrists won't allow it.
We're a little more diplomatic than that.
Yes.
But suffice to say, once you understand all the different technologies out there with the screens, and contact whatever flavor screen you prefer as a company and ask them to educate you, because it'll blow your mind how much detailed crap there is about the stupid fabric in the front of the room. But once you know all that stupid crap, it actually sells it for you. You just have to explain to your customer, look, this is going to give you the best image. And you can even sometimes do a side-by-side. The guys from, Screen Innovations, they invented the Black Diamond ambient light rejection. They have a great demo where they show a projector on a piece of drywall, and then they just lift up a little piece of their screen in front of it and just show you the difference. And anybody can do that kind of demo. Just get a piece of real screen fabric, shine onto the wall, shine onto the whiteboard, and then show them the difference. It sells itself.
Yeah.
We upsell to interactive whiteboards if they insist on whiteboards.
Well, yeah.
That's why you're evil.
Yeah,
Interactive whiteboards.
I personally am not a big fan, but we sell the hell out of them.
I'm not a fan either, but we do too. Unfortunately, people want them.
And that's the thing. That still cracks me up. There are some people who are. It's like a religious fight, I guess. There are some people who are absolutely in love with them, and there are some people who are absolutely opposed to them. And you'll find both on any college campus.
There's a particular company that's got some heavy duty Kool-Aid. I won't mention them on air.
Are they from Canada?
Yes.
Do they think they're smart?
They'd like to think so.
Oh, okay. All right. George, screens, how important are they when it comes to, Dawn just gave us a very good dissertation. How important are they when it comes to the projection image?
Well, I think Dawn and Harry both said it very well. It's very important, and the dramatic difference, just that example of the drywall, even with a titanium white paint on it versus the screen square being shown, it really is. It's sort of like the old days, the HD ads where they showed you that sort of fuzzy picture, which was SD, and then that little window of HD that they would just show you how much you're missing. It really is true. Even down to when the Dawn mentioning the beaded glass. In certain situations, that kind of screen will be a remarkable difference. It's sort of akin that these supposed low-tech provisions in our business are really important. Look, I just did a show with the guys from Calzone Case for the Live Life. There's a low-tech or supposed low-tech product that protects high-tech gear, as Joe likes to say, but there's a lot to it. There are so many different nuances to make that work, and to make a case the perfect case so that it looks good but also protects it and lasts forever. It's the same thing with a screen. You choose the right one, you're not replacing it for a good long time.
Yeah.
Schools are different, there's abuse there's misuse.
No.
No, never.
They would never write on a screen with a dry erase marker.
No, because they couldn't tell the difference between
Exactly.
the two, 'cause it's white. What? It doesn't do that. Same thing with a permanent Sharpie, right?
Yeah.
Those go on whiteboards.
Sure it does. You just doesn't come off.
But in all seriousness, yeah, I really don't think I could say much more than Dawn said. It is really true. You need to have a proper screen if you're going to go the projection route, just like you would need a proper room and the right lighting to make sure that you're not washing it out. This low-tech thing, this is what keeps the daylights and the why am I...
Drapers.
Yeah, exactly. The drapers and all the rest in business, because they are necessary. It's not just this, accessory that you should have if you can afford it. It really is required.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Honestly, in the scheme of, in the scheme of a boardroom or a classroom or something where you're putting in all this technology, what is a couple of $100 for a good quality screen? In the scheme of things.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right.
A project we're working on, it's a $1.5 million AV build. What's the cost of a projection screen? I mean,
minuscule.
It's worth it.
Minuscule, and it'll make an incredible difference. First of all, if you don't put it in, because then your $10,000 or $15,000 projector won't look nearly as good as it possibly could. So, we're going to hit one more story, and then we're going to do something I've been wanting to do for a while, which is talk to Harry and Dawn about them. From digitaltrends.com, U.S. households are leaving HBO, regardless of how many seasons of Game of Thrones they have left, and whatever else they've got left. According to this article, they're referring to subscription video on demand. So they're lumping in Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime. But let's be honest here, Netflix is the 500-pound gorilla. Has risen 23% in the last 2 years. At the same time, subscriptions to premium channels, i.e. HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, Stars, and the like, has fallen by 38%. As someone who is actively pursuing, me and my buddy Michael Drainer, who has been on this show a number of times, he works for Sennheiser. He's a regional integration market rep. He and I are kind of, it's a competition, but it's also a friendly helping each other. We're both actively trying to cut the cord, right? He and I are looking at different antennas, and he and I live at different elevations, so I've got different issues than he does. But once we get it in the house, the distribution we're getting, we're helping each other with. We're looking at Arrow and seeing if they're anywhere near St. Louis, and they're not. But looking at Netflix and the video on demand stuff. That's for residential, though, right? And there are definitely impacts, and there are definitely things that are going to affect how we design AV systems. Because instead of a cable box or instead of a cable DVR, we're going to have to integrate things that other things. But when it comes to corporate AV and pro AV, I'm going to ask all three of you both questions here. George, we'll start with you. Whether it's pro or whether it's residential, what kind of impact is this going to have? The fact that we are moving, we mentioned at the very beginning of the show, we are moving to a cloud-based system for content. We are moving to a not wireless, but just everything's going over IP. How is that going to impact the types of products that we put in and how we integrate these systems?
Well, I think it has a lot of effect. I think we're going to see less and less of the hardware. As we said at the top of the show, you're going to see much smaller, generically made equipment that's going to run the software and the services that we want. That being said, I have to question the article because a couple of things came up in my head. Are people going away from HBO and the other on-demand subscription services because they don't like HBO, or because they're affiliated with cable and it's the extra cost? And whether they're cord cutting or not, are they replacing one with the other? The article sort of dances around this and says maybe, maybe not, but I wonder if that's what it is. And think about it. Your cable bill, you get the basic cable. If you want the sports channels, that's a tier 2 thing for some of the sports channels. You want HBO and Showtime, that's a tier 3, and they mix in some of the kid channels in those upper ones so that if you're a parent, you have to get them. I didn't want them, but I have them, right? That kind of silly stuff. And that, I think, is driving a lot of people away, saying, fine, I'll get basic cable or tier 2, and then I'm going to go with Netflix, via my Wii or some other box that I have it already installed in. And that may be showing what is happening with that drive. Showtime and that quirk, I'm not sure, but I know Showtime does offer a Showtime to go and some other services that people like.
Well, so does actually HBO, except for the fact that you have to be a subscriber to the cable version of that. So I think some people are doing the cord cutting, and then you know what, if I want Boardwalk Empire, I'll just buy it, and then offset the cost of the fact that I'm not paying for HBO for a year. So
so look, I'm in the process of cord cutting. I'm down to basic cable. I have 2 off-air antennas. I do live in the New York City metro area, so I get a lot. And I'm looking at just going up to, unfortunately, my cable company and getting their really good internet package, which is still a third of what it cost me to get TV from them.
Yeah.
And then streaming my Netflix and then my server, which thinks I'm in Minnesota, so I can watch the Rangers from here. But did I say that on air?
No, you didn't.
Okay. It was just between you and I.
It was just between you and I.
But, therein lies the rub. And if you really don't want to do that, you have to stick with the cable guys. But I think you're going to see more of that, even from the cable people. You're going to see smaller boxes that do more, that are generic. Please make them not the Scientific Atlanta boxes.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, all of us.
By the way, you're going to have to show me how to do that, because I need to have it say that I'm in Essex, England, so I can watch BBC stream. So
that's probably not so difficult. I know a lot of people who do that. Actually.
Okay. Don, now that we're done talking about illegal activities. What?
Hello, NSA.
Yes. How big of an impact? How will this impact the industry, both residential and pro?
If it comes to pass, it could be a major sea change in how broadcast happens and how TV and content happens. But the biggest problem is the one that Harry and I have been debating about, and the reason that we don't subscribe to Netflix or Amazon Prime or anything like that at the moment, and it's because we're waiting for the one ring to rule them all. You can't get all the content on Netflix.
True.
Or on Prime, or on Hulu, or on whatever. So you either have to subscribe to 50 different services to stream it, or just keep Dish, just keep DirecTV, just keep, God forbid, cable, whatever you have, and watch stuff there. Now, I mean, we still have satellite, and we have HBO that we pay for through the satellite, but with that, then we get to watch HBO Go, and Harry sat on the plane to, Missouri a couple weeks ago and watched HBO stuff on the plane with Wi-Fi through HBO Go. That's great. I don't know that immediately we're going to see people just being able to buy HBO Go without the system. And it depends who's going to win the war for content. I don't think we're ever going to get to the point where everybody's going to have everything. And until we get to a point where more people have everything, so that it's similar to, it doesn't matter if you have Comcast or Dish Network, you can still get whatever channel you want to watch.
Yeah.
Until it gets to the point where it doesn't matter if you have Prime or it doesn't matter if you have Hulu or Netflix, you can get what you want to watch. We're not there yet. So some of us aren't cutting our cords just yet.
Harry, I'm going to throw you a curveball here. One of the announcements from CES that kind of threw me for a loop, kind of came out of left field, was the WWE. And if you're not familiar with what the WWE is, it's World Wrestling Entertainment. Mm-hmm. They announced their 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week, all wrestling, all the time, digital online channel. So, if you are of the ilk that like men or women in spandex wrestling around with each other and basically testosterone-laden soap operas, is that the sign of the future? Is that plus coupled with this whole 23 and 38% switch in subscribers? Is that the wave of the future, or is, like Don said, not everybody? You have to have one. It would be nice to have one repository that has all the content that everybody wants.
I was sitting here trying to figure out how I was going to do a WWE interview back at you. But I decided to keep it normal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyway.
I mean, I have a feather boa in the room if you want me to get
Very
that.
nice.
What you gonna do, brother?
Just smell what Harry's cooking.
I gotta figure out what dinner's gonna be later. Anyway, I think if the WWE doesn't do a web-based subscription for their new channel, they're dumb.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the two different. Yes, you are getting a rise. The two. I'm with you that the two different numbers are two different things of the percentage of households dropping cable versus Netflix gaining market share. There's a lot of people that are exactly like you said, cutting the cord and deciding they can do without, and things like that. And also, the economy still sucks.
Yes.
So stop getting premium channels, and then you can save $20 a month on your bill, and you can afford to eat this month. So there's that. I mean, the thing that kind of amused me a little bit that sort of ties in with this and the whole cutting the cord thing was the Weather Channel and DirecTV recently. They just had a divorce.
Yeah.
The Weather Channel is no longer on DirecTV, and boy is Weather Channel pissed. Okay, you go to their website and they're all about, DirecTV's trying to control the weather. It's like, no, they're trying to stop all of your damn reality shows instead of actually showing the weather.
Yes.
And they've replaced them with a channel that shows the weather.
It is a unique concept, yes.
Isn't that weather.com? Just asking.
Weather.com is the weather
Is
channel.
the weather channel.
Yes, I know that. I'm saying, isn't that where everybody goes?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You go online to get your weather now.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't. It's not. Oh, there's a storm coming. Better turn on Weather Channel and find out what they named it this week.
Oh, don't get me started.
Oh God, that. Yeah, don't get me started either.
But anyway,
Shower Harry.
So yes, I mean, yes, there is going to be the on-demand market is going to keep growing, and it is what it is. There are more people who are going to keep. Hello, AV Dog 2.
You want it in. All right.
The on-demand market is going to keep growing, and with that, people are going to be cutting the cable cord, and they're also going to be backing down just for sheer economics sake.
Yeah.
Right now.
No, that makes sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. All right, this is something I've wanted to do for quite a while. Ever since, honestly, I met Dawn and Harry. So we're going to take 5-10 minutes here, and you two are unique from what I've met in the industry. George's wife is a fabulous cook, not in the industry. My wife is a fabulous cook, and she also works at a family-owned restaurant here in the St. Louis area, also not in the AV industry. You two, however, have a unique situation here. So first, and Dawn will let you do this because, well, let's be honest, you could probably do it a little bit more romantically and eloquently than Harry can. How did you two meet, and how did you two become AVDawn and MrAVDawn?
Well, we didn't meet through AV.
That's a couple of different stories.
We didn't meet through AV. We actually met. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and I was dating a fellow who played drums in a Scottish bagpipe band. And through going to different events, became fans of a band called Seven Nations. They're a Celtic rock band. Mm-hmm. So think rock band with bagpipes, basically. And we had made plans to go to Richmond, Virginia, to see Seven Nations play at Highland Games there. And a week before that happened, Jamie and I broke up, and all of our mutual friends said, forget him, you're still going with us to Richmond. So I went to Richmond, and while I was there, my friend Beth and her friend Bob kept ditching this one and I together because he was single and I was newly single, and they thought we'd be a keen pair. So we kept getting ditched together the whole weekend. Kind of hit it off, I guess. I was a little not interested at the time because men were evil bastards since I just broken up. And, next thing,
I had to break through the Alanis haze.
Yeah, there was a lot of Alanis. It was the 90s.
Yeah.
But after a lot of long-distance emailing in the AOL days and chat rooming in the AOL days, because that's what we had. That was the internet back then. He convinced me to come to Maryland, and so I did.
Wow.
That's sort of how we met.
Yeah. All right, Harry. How did both of you get involved in AV?
I guess you can start since you technically were in before me.
No, technically about it. Anyway, I started working fresh out of high school at a company called Advanced Video Systems, and I was a film transfer tech. This was boring as crap. I did not last long because you had to watch all of everybody's stupid home videos. I actually went and did residential heating and air conditioning for like 5 years. And that's where I learned my electrical and all of my building information and how buildings are put together and how to do all of those things, which has served me well in the AV industry because people will go, I can't run a cable there. I'm like, well, I can. I went back to Advanced Video, and at that time, they had enough integration to be able to support someone most of the time, and eventually just worked my way up from there. I started out cable pulling, and he handed me a book that was an audio book. Here, learn about speakers and audio and stuff. Okay, so I read the book about speakers and audio and stuff.
No, I won't.
Well, and Don, one of the things that makes, well, I think it doesn't make you guys unique, but it's interesting at least, the fact that at one time you two worked for the same company.
Yes, and that's actually how I got into the AV world. When I got out of college, I was a fantastic liberal arts major, English and dance, woohoo! And we all know what English and dance majors have for career paths, which is to say, not much. So once Harry convinced me to come down to Maryland, I got a job for an advertising agency. I'd worked for computer consulting on campus when I was in college and taught myself how to write HTML back in the mid-90s before every 5-year-old could create a web page. Yeah. And so when I moved down here, I got hired by this ad agency that was looking for a creative person for their marketing and advertising, but that also knew the technical HTML and coding type end. I worked there for almost a year, and it was a horrific commute. And while it was a very cool job and I got a lot of skills that I use today from it, it was just a not happy place to work. So this one said, I tell you what, I'll support you until you find something better. Just quit that job. And I quit that job, and his former boss at Advanced Video was looking for a web page at the time, again, before every 5-year-old could do web pages. So he hired me sort of freelance to do the company's first web page, and it blossomed from there. I started working there as sort of an administrative assistant, paper photocopier, and web designer. And then their salesman didn't show up, and so I started doing sales and started learning more about the technology. And next thing you know, I'm taking a CTS, and I'm an AV person.
Yeah. What's real quickly, and we'll wrap this up with this question. What is one thing, or more than one thing? What's something that makes your guys' house and an AV home, or you can tell that an AV couple lives here?
Yes.
Well, okay. Besides the group station.
Thank you, Daddy-O.
Yes, you have a group station. Very nice. And the 42-inch that goes with it.
I'd say it's instead of having a home entertainment center, we've got it's old. We've got a 50-inch Pioneer PDP 503, I think, from 2005 on the wall by itself. And then over in the other corner is the rack. I've got a wooden, a fabulous wood grain rack in the corner that has the actual equipment that we use, the DirecTV receiver and the audio receiver and that sort of stuff, all running through an AMX system.
Before the engineer goes into every piece of equipment in our rack, I think that's the key. Is unlike a lot of people that have their home theater, if they're a hobbyist, they get their stuff from Best Buy and they put their Arduinos in and whatever their home cooked control system might be. Most of our stuff is not consumer or even prosumer. We have a lot of the professional stuff hanging on the wall, and I won a Vadio group station from a Twitter contest. Yay! I won this great LG screen. I'm looking at us on at an Almo show a few years ago, and actually Harry won that one at an Almo show a few years ago. Or our only video game system in the house is one we won at Infocom. Or so things that we pick up at work. The PDP originally came as a bonus payment when we worked together at AVS or whatever. We have the professional quality stuff. If we buy AMX stuff off of eBay, like a lot of people do, we know what to do with it.
Yeah.
As opposed to trying to find someone or hire someone or teach ourselves, we just give it to the engineer over here and he programs it up with whatever new pieces we have. And we're more geeky than the average bear, but it's all pro quality geeky as opposed to prosumer or home cooked geeky.
My Christmas lights are all AMX controlled.
Yeah.
That's
on timers.
Cool. Real quickly before we get out of here, George, I'll have to make fun of you some other time because we're running out of time because of your article. I will put a link to George's article on the show note. The one consumer electronics market Sony still dominates. Prison. I'm sorry. I just love this article because it makes fun of Sony. Apparently, Sony has this see-through AM/FM analog radio, and you can't hide things in prison. So there you go. Sony's number one at the pokey. So, all right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening to AV Week. With us has been the fabulous AV couple, AVDawn and MrAVDawn. Dawn, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at AVDawn, or the company at net, NET _AV. The company website is net-av.com, NetAV, and we do government and corporate work here in the DC area and beyond. So look for me there. And I still haven't gotten the AVDawn website updated. I'm working on it, I swear.
Didn't you say that last time?
I did say that last time, but it was only like 2 weeks ago. Cut me a break, I've been sick.
Says the guy who has a Canadian does his website. All right.
There you go.
Yeah. Mr. Harry, where can people find you?
Well, Twitter is at MrAVDawn because she got to Twitter first.
Yeah.
And I use it about a fraction of what she actually uses it. So
yeah, but I want a group station, so.
Whatever. At work, it's CCS Presentation Systems, Mid-Atlantic, where I'm their main engineer. And I guess that's about it. Facebook, whatever, look for me.
All right. And also thank you. I'll thank Vadio and Kelly Perkins on behalf of the Meades because you're watching them right now and listening to them on a group station that Miss Dawn won. So. All right, George, where can people find you?
I am part of AVNation, obviously, and World Stage, but my writings and other articles can be found at Commercial Integrator and Corporate Tech Decisions, as well as on the AVNation and Red Band blogs.
Yep. And if it's social, it's Tucker Twos.
Indeed.
Don't follow me or just look for me. Go to the website. The website is actually turning out to be very nice. Mr. Matt Scott's done a fabulous job with it, along with George and some other folks. So go by the website if you would, please, avnation.tv. avnation.tv, you'll find this program and a host of others. George mentioned the fact that he did a live this past week. It has posted and is on the website. We did an Ed Tech, the January version of that. So that is on the website as well. So go by the website if you would.
AV Social will be coming soon.
AV Social will be coming soon. Steve Greenblatt, my cohort for Control, State of Control, is somewhere on a hiatus somewhere. So we'll get another one up probably in February.
There's a new Pico next week.
Pico next week?
Yeah, no Pico projections next week.
There we go. Real quickly, and I'm not going to take a whole lot of time with this because I'm going to write a blog post about this. I've worked at Lewis and Clark Community College, which is a fine community college, for the last 7.5 years. And I've had an opportunity there to learn more and more about the industry. And because of that opportunity, I have been given another opportunity. So starting Monday, I will be joining the ranks of the unwashed masses of integrators in the St. Louis area. So I'll be a control programmer and a design engineer for a company called Modern Communications out of Fenton, Missouri, which is the same. It's St. Louis, folks. It's all St. Louis. So I am leaving education. I'm no longer a technology manager. I guess I have to resign from the Technology Managers Council. But we'll still be doing the ed tech. We'll still be doing AVNation. Actually, hopefully, it'll allow me a little bit more margin to do some more. So who knows? So stay tuned to this. And like I said, I'll write a fuller blog post on it. So good things, absolutely good things. Changes are on their way, and I think it's good. So thanks so much for listening, and thanks so much for watching. This has been AV Week.